And I want to talk to somebody right now who is addressing something very specific that impacts something very, very broad and deep. It's Mara Zapeda. She's a CEO and co-founder of Switchboard Incorporated. And she joins us now to talk about how could we think about a different way for companies to exit. The topic we're going to be using, the example rather we're going to be using is the example of Meetup. But I think it is emblematic or indicative or maybe a sign of just a different way of understanding our economy and how we should be thinking about pathways for companies, including tech companies. Mara, thank you so much for joining us from Massachusetts. Mara, are you there? So they work to get Mara. The article I'm referring to is Meetup to the People, how a zebra, and apparently it is zebra, not zebra, could rise from a unicorn's fall. Meetup was an organization that spawned.
Hello?
Oh, Mara, you're there. Go ahead, Mara.
Hi. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you now. Indeed, it's good to have you.
Great.
Well, you can tell the story rather than me doing it. First of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Give people the background on Meetup as to kind of lay the groundwork.
Sure. Meetup was founded in the days after September 11th. The founder, Scott Hefferman, really saw that communities were coming together in a very special way to support one another. They were turning towards each other. And it was that premise that he saw after September 11th that really catalyzed and inspired him to start the platform. So the platform is incredibly special. It has millions of users all over the world, and they are actively connecting around civic issues to strengthen civil society, voting, democracy, crafts, arts, social justice, any type of meetup you could possibly imagine. And so over the last almost 2 decades...
Yeah, I remember it. I thought it was a Howard Dean campaign thing. I remember it in 2004 as the way all the Deaniacs were getting together.
Yeah, I mean, it was very much used. That was one of the main marquee ways that it was used. And I think that was the first time that many people got to see just the potential.
Anyway, keep going.
Oh, yeah. So, meetups are now, there's about between, something like 13,000 meetups every single day that are happening all around the world. And this is so necessary as we think about the echo chamber of social media and all of the ills that have been born from that phenomenon. Meetup is really the antidote and the counterpoint to a lot of what we all complain about is so wrong with social media, that in-person, face-to-face, trust-building exercise that bolsters community and actually brings people together with common cause and purpose. That gesture is core to democracy and civil society.
And so what is happening with Meetup now?
So about 2 years ago, Meetup, the platform, was purchased by WeWork. For those of you that haven't been following the WeWork story, it's a bit of an implosion, a massive overvaluation. It's now, I don't know if it's been officially categorized as a distressed asset, but the valuation has tanked. And so Meetup is now
and the CEO, Adam Newman, took a whole bunch of money, sold a bunch of stock, paid himself for a bunch of things right before it became clear the stock was going to tank, and now his workers are suing him, and people are comparing him to the current president of the United States. Keep going.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a real illumination of everything that's currently quite dysfunctional with startup and Silicon Valley culture and the way that we value and prize certain business models. So Meetup was acquired by WeWork about 2 years ago. And right now that WeWork is underwater and really trying to offload non-essential assets, I would say, it's selling some of the companies that it acquired, including Meetup. And so there's an opportunity right now for Meetup to actually exit to community. So, when we think about these big venture capital funded companies, they're looking for an exit. They're looking to make a lot of money for shareholders. Well, Meetup is really special because the primary user group are the organizers and the people that attend Meetups. They have a vested interest in seeing that platform continue to really serve its membership. And so there's talks about what it would look like for Meetup to exit to community. That is there a way that we could restructure Meetup so that it could be owned by the people that use it and leverage it, which are the organizers, the members, and the employees of the company.
Which I am fascinated by, because this idea, and I'm not going to say anything new that you didn't say, but hopefully I'll retweet you verbally, that so often, and I talk to folks who, created their business as young do-gooders, and then what am I going to do to sell it? And a friend of mine who now passed away, his company never made a profit, but he sold it to Amazon for, $50 million or something. That becomes the exit strategy for so many of these companies, including companies that want to be do-gooder companies, and that they end up just, feeding into oligarchy. And how ironic and how tragic that would be for Meetup as an example, but I think also maybe emblematic of what's happening in the economy generally. So how is this work? You're saying exit to community, which I want to say again, just so people start thinking about that as one option for a next step for a company. How would that work, or how might it be working now?
Well, I think there's sort of the immediate and long-term logistics. So on the immediate side, WeWork is hoping to sell Meetup as fast as possible. And so it would be remarkable to have a coalition of values-aligned investors come in and, initially just do the financing to extract Meetup from WeWork's clutches so that it doesn't get bought up by, just the highest bidder that may not have the best intentions at heart. And then once that initial financing is through, you can start to think about ways that you can align incentives so that the organizers and the people that are responding to meetups and attending meetups and the employees, you essentially create a modern day cooperative. Cooperatives are nothing new. All of us probably can think of a cooperative, whether that's our health food store or a carpet shop or whatever it might be in our local community. Co-ops are far more prevalent in Europe. But Nathan Schneider, Trevor Schultz, and others have been working for many years to think about what it would look like to have platform cooperatives, meaning how can we align the incentives of the users with the business model? So instead of us being treated as, just this endless stream of data that is to be extracted, how can we actually mutually benefit from these platforms? And so the platform cooperative movement was born, and it's really saying, look, these virtual assets, these technology platforms, they can be repurposed to become community platform co-ops where all of us then become shareholders of these companies. There are a number of companies that have started this way. There was just a gathering in New York City of the platform cooperative movement last week. I think there are something like around 100 different platform co-ops that are now in existence across all sorts of industries. But certainly Meetup, we believe, would be, if it managed to convert to this in this fashion, would be the largest platform co-op in existence if it decided that it was able to transition in that fashion.
And to give examples of why this, just sort of the simplest examples of why this could matter so much, you already talked about data harvesting for people who don't want to, who don't want just extra Cialis ads, who actually want to control their own data, who people who care about managing oligarchy. This could really help. What are the odds that this happens, Mara? Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, if you're out there and you're an investor or someone who's enlightened about what's at stake here and how Meetup could be such a phenomenal story, the Zebras Unite movement has been talking to some aligned investors. We would just
Let's
love
pause
to
for a
see
second. Stay with us after the break. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
You are listening to Thom Hartmann Program. How can we realign the incentives in the economy and have a more shared economy that works? We're going to be talking about that. We're back with Mara Zapeda from Brighton, Massachusetts, talking about how zebras can unite, how a zebra could arise from a unicorn's fall. And you were just saying what needs to happen or what are the odds of it happening. And I think you were saying, hey, anybody who's listening who is an investor type, you might want to get on board. But continue with your plug. I think what you're doing is fascinating and hugely important.
Yeah, I think, first of all, Meetup organizers, self-organize. If this is something that you want, have your voices be heard and start to organize, because I think that that's going to be so meaningful. Second, for people that are interested in civil society and democracy and just see the urgency of an asset like Meetup being owned by the most important stakeholders that are really its users, its organizers, its employees, get in touch. The email address is hello@zebrasunite.com. That's hello@zebrasunite.com. More generally, to all of your listeners, we just encourage you to learn more about online cooperatives, the platform cooperative movement, and different ownership structures. All of these digital assets that all of us use every day, they were designed to make shareholders wealthy by selling advertising and mining our personal data. But as we think about the future of technology, it doesn't have to be that way. And the first step to it not being that way is to come up with creative alternative ownership models that actually are aligned with the public's interest rather than treating us as an extractive, just extracting our information from us. So there is a potential to do this in the future, but it starts with different corporate structures and capital systems to align those incentives.
So first of all, if I were to go and email hello@zebrasunite.com, which by the way, I was recently corrected by a woman of German descent that it's zebras. I'm not here to advocate, but I'm just passing along what I learned. So if I pronounce it funny, it's just because I don't want her to get mad at me. If someone were going to email that and say, hey, I want to help and put in some money, what would that mean? Is there actually a fund being developed? Is that still in the works? What's happening?
Well, right now we're looking for aligned investors and we're trying to figure out what the appetite is.
Yeah.
So the timeline, as we understand it, is obviously pretty fast because Meetup is, WeWork is in a bit of a pickle, as those of us who know have been following the story. And so, I think our ambition here is twofold. On the one hand, it would be quite remarkable if we were able to find an exit to community for Meetup. Anyone that is interested in democracy should be looking at the asset of Meetup and should be thinking about how much it's going to impact society if that just falls into the hands of the highest bidder. We have a huge opportunity right now to take this asset and to convert it into a platform cooperative, which would be an incredible story. So there's right now in this moment, this is what's possible, and we're really looking for people and visionary individuals and organizations that see the potential there for how much this could serve civil society and democracy as it has. And then moving forward, if we don't manage, this time around, for all of your listeners to just become aware that we are slaves to corporate structures. And so we need new corporate structures that liberate all of us, our data, our information, from the stranglehold of venture capital and the advertising model that's currently destroying the foundations of society. We have an opportunity to re-envision that future.